Hello my darlings and welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new here, my name is Miranda and I am the Enchantress of Avalon. So for today's video, I have what I deem a very fun topic to discuss, and that is Morgan le Fay's interpretation in visual media. Okay, now I only have one of the interpretations in a physical format that I can show you in the video. The others I only own like digital copies of, or they are currently streaming, so we'll discuss that. But I am going to talk through 4 of my favorite interpretations of Morgan le Fay as it pertains to different films and television series. And there's a little bit of a mixed bag of how she's portrayed, which is really interesting because Morgan le Fay is a very enigmatic figure, so of course she's portrayed in different ways, in different media forms. So, I think I'm just going to go ahead and go through these. I think I'll just go through them in release order to make things easy for myself. So, the first of my 4 favorite interpretations of Morgan le Fay in visual media is in the 1981 film Excalibur. I believe it's 1981. Sorry if I'm incorrect on that. And in this film, she is portrayed by the absolutely incredible Helen Mirren. So just fantastic. And I love Helen Mirren's interpretation of her. She plays her as just as hugely bad as she can. She's just this bad bitch through the entire film, and she is manipulating everything. She's doing all of the treacherous Morgan le Fay things, and it's a delight to watch because, well, Helen Mirren is a delight to watch in general. And she just really kind of said, I want to just go really hard into this baddie persona, and it's super entertaining. I truly enjoy it. And the movie is visually stunning. It's one of those great 80s high fantasy films that were just so utterly visually stunning. We had a bunch in the 80s, really. Other than like kind of great slashers and some cheesy high school movies, which are still super fun, the 80s is best known for its high fantasy films, and Excalibur is one of the best. You have basically the entirety of the Arthurian legends put forth to you, and you get to watch really great actors portraying these figures, and I'm just always so delighted watching Helen Mirren's interpretation of Morgan le Fay. She does a very over-the-top Morgan le Fay and very much a villain Morgan le Fay, but so fun. And if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend. The next one I'm going to talk about is actually the only one I have physically. I have a DVD copy of, and that is the Mist of Avalon TV miniseries. It was a 2-part miniseries released by TNT back in 2001. So yeah, it's really kind of a relic. I don't know if you can actually even stream this anywhere. I own the physical DVD copy. I don't think they ever even put it on Blu-ray. But I love this movie. It is such a comfort movie to me. And it even says Angelica Houston, Joan Allen, and of course Juliana Margulies plays Morgan le Fay in this. And The Mist of Avalon in general is one of my ultimate interpretations of Morgan le Fay. Probably my favorite ever, because she's called Morgan, but it is pronounced Morgane in this movie. But even though it's spelled Morgane, it's Old French and probably would have been pronounced as Morgan anyway. But they pronounce it as Morgane, and that's fine to me because they're pronouncing it as it's spelled. That makes sense. But it's a very sympathetic interpretation of her. And she's not a villain at any point in this. She is, in fact, kind of a victim of circumstance a lot of times, from having her father killed in battle, Uther Pendragon impersonating her father and impregnating her mother, which right there in the original legends. Having then Uther become her stepfather, she gets taken away by the Lady of the Lake, played by the amazing Angelica Houston in the film, Vivienne, who is her mother's sister, to raise in Avalon to train as a priestess. And she really loves training as a priestess. And she meets her cousin Lancelot, whom she develops feelings for very quickly. And she misses her brother, Arthur, during all of this, because they were very close before Merlin took Arthur and Vivienne took Morgan to train them. And unbeknownst to Morgan, the biggest victim of circumstance moment for her is having the conception of her son Mordred organized by Vivienne. And in this version, it is Morgan who is the mother of Vivienne, is the mother of Mordred in this version. In older versions, it's actually Morgause who's the mother of Mordred, but Arthur's his father either way. And she feels utter betrayal in finding out that during this Beltane festival, she took part in this amazing ritual embodying a goddess and having this great fertility rite performed, and she got pregnant, but was totally betrayed to find out it was her own brother who was the man she was with that night. She didn't know they were wearing masks, and she hadn't seen her brother in many years. But she powers through. She always endures. She's very, very strong. And I love seeing the Arthurian legends told entirely from Morgan's perspective, which is what The Mist of Avalon gives us. And the book is one of my all-time favorite novels. Although I have to separate. I view this book as being something that was channeled, and that Marion Zimmer Bradley, atrocious, horrific human being that she was chosen to be the conduit to tell this story. But she was not just a writer, because I've read other books she wrote before knowing what she did, and the other books in the Avalon series never felt like The Mist of Avalon, because this just seems to be truly a circumstance of it being divinely inspired, and she was just the conduit to express this. But I won't get into her atrocities in this video. You can easily look them up yourself. I've mentioned them before, and I don't want to talk about them. The next interpretation of Morgan le Fay is in the 2008 television series Merlin, which ran on the BBC, one of the BBC stations originally. And it's currently streaming on Prime. I know it's on Prime right now. I don't know anywhere else it's streaming. I love this series. You have Katie McGrath playing Morgan le Fay, or Morgana, Pendragon in this version. And she starts out as a very sympathetic young woman who is a ward to Uther Pendragon, and who begins developing magical abilities very early on in the first season. But she is essentially gaslit by Gaius, the court physician, who is also taking care of Merlin, and Merlin himself, because neither of them ever tell her that Merlin also possesses magic. Magic which is deemed punishable by death in Uther's court. So she lives in utter fear as she's having these nightmares and visions, and her magic is coming to her because she thinks she could be punished by death. And eventually she finds her sister Morgause and finds a lot of comfort with her, who is also a magical practitioner, and comfort with the druids and with other magical people, that she grows to deeply hate Uther, deeply hate Camelot, and want to take over and even cause the downfall. So her villain arc as becoming the ultimate big bad of this series makes sense, and I empathize with it. And frankly, I am rooting for her to triumph by the end. And it's so sad to me that she doesn't, but I would have wanted Morgana to end up as the ruler of Camelot. I don't know if I'm the only one who just really, really rooted for that version of Morgana to just win, because it makes sense. Of course she's pissed off, and of course she hates Uther and hates Merlin. They've been betraying her, and then she finds out she's actually Uther's daughter that she didn't know. And she takes over the line for a while. And eventually has her villainy thwarted ultimately by Merlin, but of course it's his story, so yeah, it's gonna end like that. But beautifully done. I love the costuming. I love the series. Yeah, there's some bad CGI. It's the early 2000s. Of course there's bad CGI, but it is so fun. And it is such a huge comfort show to me. Almost as much as The Mist of Avalon is as a comfort movie. I love watching this show to just feel cozy and warm. And then the final interpretation of Morgana that I want to discuss is in the 2011 TV show Camelot. And here she is portrayed by Eva Green. I know the name is spelled Green, Green, but I'm pretty sure it's pronounced Grain. I did look this up in the past and read that her name was pronounced Grain, so I chose to pronounce it. And she is just fantastic in this series. She has a lot of the same energy as the Helen Mirren interpretation, where it's really kind of this big bad energy, and she's just having a lot of fun being bad and evil. It's delightful to watch on screen. You have, I believe it was Ralph Fiennes that played Merlin in this version, and they play off each other really well. I'm just so delighted watching it. It's such a fun show. I wish it would have lasted more than just the one season, because it does end on a cliffhanger. So be aware, if you're going to watch that interpretation, it's not going to tell you the complete story. It did end on a cliffhanger, and for whatever reason did not continue. I think I read somewhere that it had to do with the actors having other commitment issues with other work they were doing, but I thoroughly enjoy watching this. And I own a digital copy of it. I don't own it physical, so I can't show you what the cover looks like of a box set or anything, but excellent show. Eva Green really brings it. She always does. She's incredible. And that is my list. Those are my 4 favorite interpretations of Morgan le Fay in visual media. So that's Excalibur, played by Helen Mirren, The Mists of Avalon, played by Juliana Margulies, Merlin, played by Katie McGrath, and Camelot, played by Eva Green. I hope you've enjoyed this short video explaining all of my favorite interpretations of Morgan le Fay in visual media. If you have, please do like, comment, subscribe. Check out my blog, whitewatersofavalon.life, for even more content. I will link some Morgan-related blog posts in the description box. And I also want to briefly announce at the end of the video here that I have updated how my tarot and oracle card reading services work on my blog. I now have more options on the website of how to pay, and there is also even a live reading option where we would schedule via Zoom a 30-minute session. So check that out if you're interested in getting a tarot or oracle card reading service from me, the Enchantress of Avalon. So I hope you have a fantastic week, everyone. Bye now.